All right. Okay. Going live stream. And it is Ari, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I want to make sure I was saying it right. All right. YouTube live. Perfect. All righty.
Hello world, this is Kevin from Fiction Factory, and you're listening to DC and DH on the DND Dynamite 80s podcast.
They have been best friends since childhood, played the same sports, attended the same schools, and now they even teach together. You're listening to DC and DH on the DND Dynamite 80s podcast. So guys, take it away. All righty. Welcome in to another Wednesday night podcast. DC going solo right now. Hopefully DH will be able to get on here in just a little bit. But we are pleased to have Ari Oldaker.
Oldaker, yeah.
Okay. I was
It's
close.
so weird pronounced, yeah.
So we're close to home tonight in the Nashville area, and man, what an awesome talent! I had seen some video of her on social media, and she was gracious enough to come on tonight and talk with us a little bit about her music, along with some '80s stuff that I've seen her and her band do. But we're pleased to have Ari. How are you?
Good. I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing fantastic. You stay quite busy, from what I could tell. You play a lot of different locations, but we'll get into that in
I
a second.
play, yeah, I mean, I
Yeah,
live here. I
yeah.
do the Broadway thing, so I'm always
Sure,
busy.
sure. Absolutely. So we'll get into all that good stuff and where you can try to find her and go out and check her out. But before we do that, let me go just general stuff with how in the world did you get to want to do the professional singing stuff?
Well, I'm born and raised from Akron, Ohio, so that's
Hmm.
about 40 minutes south of Cleveland, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and everything.
Absolutely.
I just grew up with parents that love rock and roll music, especially my dad, and that's what I was raised on. And I don't really know. I guess music has always just been a part of my life. And the older that I got, the more I was getting into writing and writing my own songs and diving deep into like different bands and different genres and like certain eras of music, and it just ended up being my thing. I was like, I heard a demo that Stevie Nicks did, The
Mm.
Chain, and as soon as I heard that, I told my dad, I was like, I want a guitar. I want a
Oh
guitar. And it was around
wow, yeah.
Christmas time. I was like, that's I want a
That's
guitar.
what you
I
want to
want to
do. Yeah,
start playing music. And
yeah,
here I am.
yeah, yeah. So, did you start out fairly early age, like you kind of described? Did you like publicly? Did you
I
do like
wish.
talent shows and stuff, or was this later on in life
I
kind of thing?
I was always like, I did a lot of dance and recitals like that, but I think with music growing up, I was extremely shy because singing is a
Wow.
very intimidating thing. At least for me, it was very intimidating because I have an older sister who is also trained in performing arts, acting, singing, dance. And I guess a lot of the focus I felt like for me, and I love my sister very much, I felt like was a little bit more on her growing up. So I never really voiced how much I actually really wanted to kind of get into music until I was like 18. And I'm 24 now. So it's
Yeah.
really not that long ago that I was like, I want to do
Okay.
this, and immediately kind of went professional
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
So
Fabulous. Fabulous. Yeah, we had matter. It's ironic you mentioned about that about being shy. We had Laura Branigan's. We had a tribute show to her last week. We had her manager
wow.
on, and she said a lot of people didn't realize how shy of a person she actually was. And that was her when she got up. That was her thing, was to break through that. She went on to perform, obviously as a very talented musician and successful
Right.
musician, in in her career. And yeah, I just thought that was ironic. I've heard this several times where some of
Yeah,
those performers have started out very shy, and you would think it'd be the
right.
opposite, you know? So that is very, very interesting that
Yeah,
a lot of these musicians and actresses have that shy kind of deal to part of their persona. Pretty cool. I mean, that's
right.
pretty ironic,
Yeah,
I think, because you would think it would be totally opposite of that.
absolutely. People ask me that all the time. They're
Mhm,
like,
mhm.
"You perform with so much energy and whatever," and I'm like, "I never used to be like that, though. I used to be very, very, very shy behind the microphone and just kind of not really make eye contact with anybody and
Yeah,
just do
yeah,
my thing,
yeah.
just get over it." Yeah.
Well, Ari, that brings me to the next thing that just kind of flows in the next thing I was gonna ask you. Um, when you get in front of a crowd like that, um, do you try to focus in on, or are you just zoned in your own thing, or do you try to relate as much as possible to the crowd, and you feed off that energy?
Uh, Both.
Okay.
There's moments where I'm kind of disassociating in the way where I'm in my own kind of just world of depending on the song, I really feel like it just depends on the song or whatever
Mhm,
is
mhm.
kind of happening that night. But I always try to like really engage and like, look at people, scan the room like while I'm singing a song and get people like, get their attention and get them involved, even if they're just sitting down or and just watching. Like once I make that eye contact and they don't stop watching, it just never stops unless they leave or something. But it's both because I
Yeah,
like to be able to feel like what I'm singing because everything that I do perform is because I want to do it and not because it's just like on a set list. Every single song we've handpicked that works for me and works for like what I represent, I guess,
yeah,
in music, like personally. So
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, like I said, and folks, we'll talk about all the different locations and stuff because I know for a fact I've seen her at a couple of different famous places here in the Nashville area that we'll talk about here in a little bit. But yeah, as I've seen some of your social media stuff, and by the way, I know you've got a lot of people online that watch, and I thoroughly, when
yeah,
I'm scrolling through, "Oh, okay, Tuesday," or whatever, and then there you are, you got it all set up and get to enjoy some of that, even if we can't make it down there live or something. That's pretty cool stuff. But anyway, I just
yeah.
wanna let you know, we do watch, your shows, so it's good
Thank
stuff.
you.
And what I wanted to say about the show, yeah, like you mentioned, lots of energy. And talk to me. Have you always had that? Like just a lot of spunk and energy,
Uh,
or does performing help bring out more of it?
well, being a trained like dancer for
Hmm.
so many years and being involved in that in high school and being a runner and everything, I've always had a lot of energy just in general. I think when it came to performing, when I started out, I just kind of, I sang and whatever, but I wasn't confident. I was singing, but I wasn't confident in
Hmm.
myself. And so over time, going and watching other people perform and making friends with more musicians and just kind of going to shows and watching videos of my favorite musicians and bands on stage and whatever. Over time, I just kind of got comfortable, started making the show more of my own thing. And that's kind of really how it is now. Everything that's happened is pretty much due to just time and confidence and getting comfortable.
Yeah,
So
yeah. The guys that you have in your group, did you meet they local musicians that you met here, or do you have some
yeah,
background of knowing them before now?
no, actually, one of my guitar players, I met him a year ago, for a fill-in gig that he ended
Wow.
up I
Okay.
needed a guitar player. He
Yeah.
played. He's my roommate, so he's somewhere in the house right now.
Oh, well, isn't that
I love
something?
him so much. Yeah, I've everybody in my band, they're all from different places, different states,
Sure.
but they all live here. We just kind of met throughout just
Yeah.
playing and doing fill-ins or having to call
Yeah.
somebody for a gig. Now we're in this like little what I call like a super group of
Yeah.
musicians that they're like the best guys in the entire world.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that obviously being here in the center of one of the greatest towns on the planet, especially for all types of singing now. We
Right.
know originally what it was for, but it's changing, isn't it? It's not just country music that's
Right.
popular here, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I've lived here most of my life, here in the Nashville area. And I know growing up, it was all about the Grand Ole Opry and, all those country music legends that came through and made it big and all that. But the clientele's changed. You see
Yeah.
people from all over the world here visiting and probably trying to make a living at maybe being musician or whatever producer or whatever their dream is. But yeah, I noticed that when I go down there on that in that area, it's like, man, that's kind of unique. I'm hearing some different language that I'm picking up different languages here and there in different places. So it's
Right.
changed, even being a person that's here, most of their life.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So let's talk a little bit about when you want to try to perform publicly like this. Is there? I'm sure there's tryouts, or how does all that work? I'm sure you represent
Uh
yourself.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
So how's all
I
that
mean,
the business part of it work?
well, I guess for Nashville specifically, I mean,
Hmm.
obviously the best thing to do, I would say, is have your own band kind of already ready.
Yeah.
I work underneath Tootsie's, and Tootsie's is owned by, they have Honky Tonk Central,
Fantastic.
Rippies,
Yeah.
Kid Pops, and whatever. So
Yeah.
those are the bars that I mainly play at now. I mean, I've
Hmm.
played at Johnny Cash's and whatever, but pretty much that bar circuit has its own open audition
Okay.
on
Okay.
Saturdays 2 to 6 at Tootsie's.
Hmm.
And people go and they sign up, and if they like you, they'll send you to a Monday meeting to talk more about, getting in and playing and, maybe having a band set up for you if you don't have one
Oh,
already.
okay.
But I've been able to play kind of all over. And even just before I even started like getting my own shifts and having my own job doing it every day, I would get
Yeah.
up on stage and find friends that are playing and they would let me sit in for a couple of songs. And then that's kind of my way into a lot of
I
bars and a
got you.
lot of places that I'm
Yeah.
playing here is just by showing up being like, hey, let me
Showing the
get on stage and
talent.
do a couple.
Yeah. Yeah. Got to
Yeah,
show off the talent and hope
absolutely.
somebody sees it. Yeah, that makes sense. What? That's
Right.
cool stuff. Um, Talk to me about this as well. Okay, you come at a young age from a different state. Were you scared to death, or were
Yes.
you? Or are you the type of person that you were challenged? Like, screw it, I'm going to take this on, and what happens happens.
I definitely, when I first came here, I was only 20 and I knew
Mm-hmm.
a couple people, but I couldn't really go to like bars or anything at that time.
Right.
And it was like right before like COVID happened.
Mm.
So I remember being and like within the first couple months, I was like, why did I do this? Like, this is just
Sure.
like insane. I was very timid.
Yeah.
And I think after some point, it just was like, all right, well, if I'm going to be here, I met a lot of different musicians, did a lot of like little writing
Mm-hmm.
things and
Mm-hmm.
whatever, but I didn't start playing out until like a year later. And I just said, screw it. If I'm going to be here, I need to do this 100%,
Yeah.
and just started playing anywhere and everywhere that would let me, or if anybody would let me on stage. And then eventually made my way to Broadway and auditioned at Tootsie's. And I was so scared, and then
Yeah.
next thing you know, they're like, "Hey, you're
Yeah.
hired. We'll see you Tuesday for your first
Fantastic.
shift."
What an awesome story. Well, and let me kind of piggyback that a little bit. Being a high school teacher and in the school that I teach in, hard luck, a lot of hard luck kids, down and out kind of kids. Um, what would be your advice about don't let things get in your way? When people tell you no, Go ask 5 more. I try to kind of say that philosophy to them because I've lived some of that. Where if I
Right.
get turned down for something, as like a sponsor, as a school sponsor of some different things, okay, well, you're not going to sponsor. That's fine. I'll ask 6 other businesses.
Right.
I'm kind of challenged in that way that okay, you can tell me no, but somebody when I find them is going to say yes. So I'm kind of driven that way. So I was just curious what you would say, to kids like because it's so easy for them this in this day and time with instant results of things. That's what they expect, like on media and yeah, I can find stuff instant. The work drive is what scares me about kids today. A lot, not
Right.
all of them, but some of them. The drive to okay, well, I'll just do something else. It's not going to happen, kind of thing. So
Right.
what would your advice be about that?
I guess my advice for that is just if you like something enough, I mean, and if that's your thing, I mean, it doesn't matter what anybody says or anything that happens. Like, if as long as you stick with yourself and you stay true to yourself, it's going to happen for you, regardless of whatever you're going into, whether it is music, whether it's some sort of art or business or whatever it is. If you love what you do enough, nobody else's opinions matter except yours, and it's going to happen, especially when you're kind, you stay true to yourself and true to your artistry. That is going to take you off way more than a lot of what I see these days of people just getting things handed to them,
Yes.
well, especially a
Yes.
lot of like fake musicians out there and stuff that make a generated computer song that's gets famous on TikTok, and now suddenly they're a musician, right? It's just stuff like that I see a
Yeah.
lot, and it's hard because and it's like it's easier to do those things now than it was back then. But I just think if you're motivated enough, you care a lot about what you do, and you put that time and effort into your craft and whatever it is that you're trying to build or make, it's going to happen and you're going to be successful. And to just be fearless and go after whatever it is that your heart desires, because that's just how it is. We got one life to live.
Right.
You can't
Right.
can't half. You got to be 100% in, and then
I th-
you'll see it happen at some point.
yes. Yeah. And th- that's awesome how you've mentioned and said that. I think with doing this show, this is like we're about to start our 3rd year, and all the different people that we've interviewed. Here's what's amazing about, like you said, artistic people. What I admire about them, and one of many things, but one of them is like you said, they're this care. It's a lot of them are very driven and carefree. Like, hey, this is what I want to do. You tell me no 50,000 times, screw you. I'm going to do what I'm going to do and make it work.
Right.
And that's a lot. That's a positive thing to have that kind of desire and motivation to do something that's very admirable. I think personally, where it's so easy to say, well, I'm tired of being told negative and screw it, I can't do this. And I'm afraid there's a lot of talented people that do that in whatever they're doing. But just by the word, because words are they can be very positive and they can be very harmful. So as we know, so um, yeah, I often wonder that how many of these kids or young adults or whoever have given up on something to where they honestly, if they wouldn't have heard it a certain way by somebody, would they have chased it? And
Right.
it makes
Yeah.
you wonder. All the talented
Right.
people that hadn't been found. I guess what I'm trying to
Right.
say. So that's
Yeah.
fantastic. Let's talk 80s for a second. Because I noticed in some of your sets, yeah, yeah. So and I assume the guys enjoy it as well because they're playing it. So they must have
Yeah. No,
enjoyed
they all love
those
it.
songs. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's always been that's kind of what we set our show around. It's not 100% all the time that we talk, but that's the majority of what our show's about. But so we like to touch on it a little bit and. I'm curious, why in the world, and you're a young person, why is this music sticking around for all ages? I mean, all age people.
'cause it's good music.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
how
it's
so?
great music. It's
Yeah.
timeless. It's timeless.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a
What
lot of
was made it that
people
way, you think?
I think
Lyrics,
because
beat, the
lyrics, I
message?
think people were
Yeah.
genuine about what they were
Mm,
doing. And I think that made
gotcha.
more genuine and timeless music and music that had a story to it or was like very personal. Very personal. I think a lot of the songs that were written, 60s, 70s, 80s, I mean, all of that
Yeah.
stuff is so personal and so just true and there's so much truth in a lot of the music. And so but just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it wasn't about I think I think it was also just not 100% about selling and making, a buck off of a song. It was because people were passionate about what they
Mhm.
were doing and what they were putting out there in their music. Now, in compared to now, it just seems like anything and everybody's going to get played on the radio, no matter what you say or do in a song. It could be two chords and one line, and then it's a hit. But then, because that's just how music is these days, or at least in my opinion. And I
Is a
feel like
lot of it
back
too much
then,
business
oh my
oriented
gosh,
now, you think?
a lot of it now is just there's no I feel like a lot of the how people say like sex sells and stuff. I mean it
Mhm.
does, but it's just I feel
Mhm.
like a lot of the music now is just to make money,
Yeah.
and then it's recycled music. You hear one
Mm.
hit on the radio, like new pop song or whatever. You don't ever hear about that song within a year. You don't remember it. It's not memorable. It's
Yep.
recycled. You'll hear something like it within a couple of years after it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that kind of music, it overshadows a lot of the people that are trying to bring back the playing actual instruments on stage and recording big productive songs that are passionate and rich. And that's kind of the issue that a lot of musicians now are running into. Why it seems like a lot of people give up on their dreams, or they're just whatever, like I won't chase this passion because we're not being taken seriously, in the sense that like a lot of people want to make good music, but these, you know, I it's not even about like labels or whatever studios and stuff. It's not even about that or these companies, managers, whatever.
Mhm.
It's just about that's not what they're looking for anymore. They're looking for the next big icon to get up and dance and whatever, and maybe be pretty, mediocre and be okay as long as you look good and you make money. That's it. And that's the
Yeah.
problem that we're running into. So
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Gimmick.
yeah,
Can I have a gimmick? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and to be honest with you, Ari, I think for me, the old school music, I don't even listen to the new stuff.
no,
And you
me
just
either.
described the reasons why. No
Yeah,
emotion, it's just what dirty lyric can I rap about? I
yeah,
just I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't like it. Like you said, it's feel good music like the 80s, 70s that had some soul and heart to it. It meant something. They wrote about a person or a love interest or whatever, and you could feel it. When that artist performed it, you got it.
right.
And like you said, that's very rare that you see that nowadays. It's so yeah commercialized. To me, just robotic kind of like okay, I'm gonna get out there and I'm gonna take my shirt off or I'm gonna wear
Right.
whatever. And yeah, you're exactly right. Spot on, I think. Other than, of course, Stevie Nicks, which you obviously you admire a lot, and gosh, who wouldn't? I think she's the only lady in the Hall of Fame. Speaking of Hall of Fame, twice she's in there
Yeah.
twice. She's in there with a group, and she's in there as a so. Who else has done that? That's amazing in
Right.
itself. But I
Right.
think she could get in, as whatever. That's the type of talent she has. But yeah, if
Right.
she did kids musicals or something, she'd be in for that. But anyway, um, just yeah, I'm a big fan of hers, obviously as well. But who else, 80s wise, do really
Yeah.
just hit you? Hit you as like,
Uh,
man, this person's got it.
Oh man, I mean, like, I love Prince.
Oh,
I love,
absolutely.
if we're talking bands, I
Hmm.
love Motley Crue. I love Guns N' Roses. I love all the hair metal, Skid Row. I mean, Pete, like, I guess individually, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's so many people. That's Joan Jett, all the Pat
Sure.
Benatar, all the legends of the 80s are,
Hmm. Hmm.
incredible. You know, Van Halen, everything. I mean, it really, I love everything from the 80s. I think all of what, trickled in from like the late 70s into the 80s. Billy
Hmm.
Squire is one of my favorites. I
Mm.
mean, that I would give anything to meet
Interesting.
that
Hadn't heard
man.
that one from some of our guests. That and what a
He
talent!
is
Absolutely.
incredible.
Yeah,
He's
absolutely.
probably like, yeah, I think he's up there probably as like my number one, like 80s, like singer songwriter, like that right there. Every from his first album to even just the stuff he put out recently, he has never changed. I love his music. We do a lot of
Hmm.
Billy Squire and we love
Hmm.
him.
Hmm.
And people, it gets received well, but I'm like, you guys should know who Billy Squire is because he's awesome.
Damn right.
But
Yeah, they should.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um. Yeah. That's absolutely. Billy Squire is a great one. Um. Yeah. Let me ask this as well. Um. Have you been able to? Because I always like to kind of delve into this, like when we have a tribute artist on or something. Well, has the folks that you're doing the music for or dedicating it to, has anybody reached out? And you get pretty cool stories here and there. Oh yeah, they actually DM'd us, or oh yeah, they're following us and copied their our video onto their site or something. But what I'm curious about, have you spotted any so-called famous singers, musicians, whatever, in any of the locations while you're performing? Have you
Um,
have you ran into any or met them?
I don't think necessarily anything. Well, actually, no, no. So I was playing at Tootsie's one night, and I was
Okay.
walking. The Tootsie's is right next to the Ryman Auditorium.
Yes. Yes.
Walking through, I'm walking through the alley with
The
my
alley.
keyboard.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, we're walking to go through the back way because that's where the room we were playing at. And as we're getting closer, there's someone standing with a couple people outside of the backs of the Ryman talking, and it's Robert Plant and a couple
Wow.
couple of his like friends or whatever. He's just standing there, and as we're getting closer, I'm like, I lean over to my friend. I'm like, is that Robert Plant?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah. He's like, dude, that is. And I guess another guy kind of heard me that was walking like the opposite direction from us, and he's like, yeah, just don't say anything or whatever. 'Cause I guess he just came from the Ryman or something. And
Hmm.
we're getting closer. We walk by him, he smiles at me, and I just go into my gig and I put my stuff down and I flip out. I'm like, there's
That's
no way
something.
I just went. And apparently he's very friendly. I had a couple friends like a week or two ago that met him at like
Hmm.
Nordstrom or something, and just
Hmm.
he got a picture with them. He's just super nice. I don't think there's anybody really. I mean, there was like one of the guitarists from Judas Priest at our gig the other day. So that was
Wow.
kind of cool.
Okay. That
Yeah, my
is
guitar
cool.
player spotted him out and like said something to
Yeah.
me. Of course, I'm not gonna call people out of, their name or whatever and just,
Sure. 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 Sure.
especially they're just trying to hang out. But that
Absolutely.
happens. And you just get random people that pop in. Kid Rock
Hmm.
pops into his bar all the time. It's his bar, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've
Well,
seen
that's where I
Vince
was going
Neil.
next. Have you actually met him?
Yeah,
Yeah. Figured
I've
you
I've
had.
seen
Yeah.
I've seen Vince Neil. I did
Really?
an open
Okay.
mic in Fork outside of Nashville like a couple years ago, and he was at the side of the stage with his girlfriend when I was singing
Okay.
and playing guitar.
Okay.
So it's cool. You never know who you're gonna see
Sure it
around
is.
here. So
Sure it is.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, in the the world that professionally that I'm in, meet a lot of famous people that are teachers or something. So yeah, that
right.
always is interesting to me. That's pretty cool stuff. People that are doing the same trade that gift that you have, and yeah, that's neat stuff. Um, because I had heard um, that a lot of them are moving here in droves. Like
Yeah.
or have a house here. Not necessarily full time here, but But like, speaking of Vince Neil, Mick Mars, I think, is living here
Yeah.
or lives here some of the time. And I know for a fact that, oh gosh, a lot of train of thought, you'll know, Sticks, um,
Um,
Sticks. I see his face.
yeah, I
And
same.
I
I'm
apologize if you're
drawing.
watching this live on YouTube.
Peter
Uh,
Frampton lives there too, though.
it'll come to me in a second, but anyway,
Yeah,
he's lived here for many many years. I think the singer of Styx.
yeah.
So yeah, cool stuff. Yeah, but that always kind of I was interested in like you know if you're doing your performance and and here kind of oh my gosh that's I know this guy he
Right.
does this
It trips
and
me out sometimes. You never know who's
yeah.
gonna walk in the gig ever. Like Mick Jagger was here for the Stones concert like a year or so ago, and he was just popping into people's
Hmm. Hmm.
bars and just he had a mask on, but he was just walking around downtown Broadway.
Oh
You
my
never know.
gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Tommy Shaw, by the way. Sorry, Tommy.
Yes, that's who it is. Yes, 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 yes. I was like,
Uh,
I'm like
one
at his
another
little
one of my
face and his blonde.
yeah favorite groups, and man, lost train of it there for a second. Yeah, I got to see
Right.
them back in 2017 with REO Speedwagon and Tommy Shaw and the Sticks and Don Felder, which was fabulous when he was with the
Yeah.
Eagles, of course. So he opened as a solo act. So that was an awesome show. But anyway, what what is your thought process on what you want to take it to the next level?
Oh, how do I
Obviously,
want to take it
probably a
to the next?
recording contract or something.
Yeah, I'm just recording, and it's not even about trying to get like signed or anything. I think it's more so just putting a lot of like what we make, playing out and stuff, and just
Hmm.
taking it and putting it into studio time, which is what I'm working on right now. Got a lot of stuff that I've written, and one of my guitar players and I were in talks of kind of what we want to do next. And I have like a couple little songs out on Spotify and stuff, and it's like singer-songwriter stuff that I wrote, over the last like first one was like a couple of years ago, and then I just put out a little song that I had written for a minute, but and that's kind of more like my side of like Jackson Brown, Stevie Nicks kind of feel music. But then there's obviously the bigger part of me that really wants to pursue more of like a hard rock sound and start going in that direction with like the more 80s thing and different kind of elements. I want to kind of do like a Axl Rose meets Stevie Nicks type of thing because I scream a
Interesting.
lot, but then I
Yeah.
also have like the kind of like the groovy little witchy thing
Yeah.
happening
Yeah. Yeah.
too. So that's kind of what's happening next. It's just recording and putting music out and just making the songs and just going, out of town, playing gigs, even if it's a cover gig, throwing those songs in there and plugging in your
Yeah.
own
There you go.
music at those cover gigs. That's kind of how you have to do it. And you just have to really build a following, which is why TikTok helps when you go live at shows and people will start kind of keeping up with you.
Sure.
And I had a couple that actually just came from out of state. They're on their honeymoon, for the last 2 days here in Nashville. And I was running the tip bucket at Kid Rocks a couple of days ago. And I talked to them and they're like, we found you on TikTok and we
Yep.
flew here for our honeymoon and we found where you were playing at. And they specifically came, they were there last night at my other show too, and just came to watch all week. It's pretty
And
cool.
yeah, it
It's pretty,
is awesome. The world of media and what it can do. Isn't that
it's
something?
pretty cool.
It is absolutely, absolutely. Um, I want to touch on this as you gave me another thought. Um, and obviously, as teachers, we hope we touch lives in some way, somehow along the way. We're not going to reach them all, but
Right.
hopefully, we can get a lot of them. You know. So, same thing. I like to ask all our guests: how does it make you feel to be able, with the talent that you have, making people feel good and remember? A lot of times, they may remember this was the best I've ever heard this, or whatever the scenario is that you want to put together. but the effect that you can have on other people that's lasting. How's that feel to you?
It is the best, most rewarding feeling in the world, and it makes me feel like as long as I make one person's life somewhat different and make an impact, I've already done my job. And I
Yeah.
enjoy what I do every day, and I love bringing back especially such a period of music that, is so like I will say a million times, it's timeless. And
Mhm.
those songs bring people back to a place and time that when they
Right.
first heard it on the radio or whenever it first came out, and it makes them feel a type of way. And I can see that when that happens, and it makes me feel a type of way because those songs, as much as I wasn't alive during those periods,
Yeah.
it still makes me feel a type of way when I
Yeah.
sing them.
Yeah.
So it's just all around, it's a great feeling. It's the best thing in the entire
I,
world.
absolutely. That makes great sense. Um, because you got to wonder. Okay, this guy may have lost a girlfriend or a boyfriend that's kicked them out. This guy over here or this lady over here just lost her job. Um, and if you can give them some positive for a few, that's got to be some cool shit. It just got to be.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think if I was, I can't do none of that stuff. But like if I think if I was an actor or a musician or whatever, I think that would be at the top of my priority list of like, this is some pretty cool stuff that I
Yeah,
can have an effect like this on people.
yeah.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Go ahead and tell everybody where they can, kind of the routine for you. I'm here on this night. We're here on this night. Because I try to keep track with, I know a little bit, like when you say, hey, we're at whatever, or, during your gig or whatever. But I'll be honest, folks, I've watched it enough. I can tell where she's at. I'll know without her saying it. So there you go.
I'm mostly so my schedule kind of changes every so often. It really
Hmm.
just depends
Hmm.
on what happens every week. But I'm at Kid Rock's big ass honky tonk 4 days a week, sometimes
Right.
3, just depends on the week. But I'm usually there definitely Monday and Tuesday on the rooftop at
Hmm.
6
Hmm.
from 6 to 10 p.m. And then they, like I said, it moves around. So sometimes we'll be there on a Thursday at
Oh,
10
okay.
on the second floor, or sometimes, it really just depends on the schedule. I can't really say for sure, but definitely
Yeah.
Monday
Yeah.
and Tuesday on the rooftop, 6 to 10 at Kid Rocks. That's where my band has been for a hot minute. So, and we have fun. People don't think that that's
Oh, I
like a
know
super
it.
busy time. It's the perfect time to come because we have fun no matter what happens.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. You've had some pretty good crowds in there. I've seen at
yeah.
times. They get in there
Well, when
pretty
you
pretty
play
tight.
music that people like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
So,
that's all. That's some cool stuff. Well,
yeah.
all right. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and the best to you. And if you see two pretty old-looking, bald-headed guys, kind of screaming and hollering on the front row to you, that will be us. So we'll definitely try to, especially with school getting closed out here in a few weeks. We can enjoy some summertime. So we'll come down your way and check it out.
Oh, yeah. I'm ready for it.
Okay. All right. Once again, if you'll stick right there with us, I'll close this out. Ari, is that okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect.
Go ahead before I forget it. Hello Central. Give everybody all the social media sites to catch you on and watch some of your stuff.
You can find me on Instagram at REARI Music Nash, as in Nashville, or on TikTok, ARI Music Nashville, just in its entirety. And that's where I go live every so often at my shows and post funny, fun content about, retro 80s, 70s stuff. And yeah, that's what I do. It's where I'm
There
at.
you go. Very, very talented young lady, and we appreciate you taking time to check out what we do and being a part of it.
Perfect. Hey, I'm
Yeah.
like super stoked that I got to do this. So
Awesome. Awesome. Stick right there and we'll get our sponsors in here real quick. We would like to thank our sponsors, Hudson's Flags and More, veteran owned and operated, the Nesting Project of Smyrna, Tennessee, and our newest sponsor, PJG Marketing. You can find all these great folks online. You most certainly can, and I think we got a nesting project. Great people. Appreciate my high school embroidery job that they surprised me with. That's pretty cool stuff. They do great work. And I think we're going to do a special live show out at their business. So we're looking forward to that coming up this summer. Right? Oldaker? That's it. Okay. I got it
all
right.
daycare.
Okay. Or close.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're close.
Oldaker. Okay.
I just go by Ari.
And,
It's just Ari.
it's Ari, man. It's Ari Music Nashville. Ari Music so you'll be able to find you. That's for sure. But
Yeah.
no, find the blonde-headed, talented lady that has a lot of energy, and you know you got the right person. That's for sure. No question about it. Ari, thank you so much. The best to you and the guys in the band. And once again, folks, go check them out. Very, very talented musicians. And man, they'll give you a absolute treat of a performance. I promise. So check them out. We're going to do that. We're going to check them out. We'll holler from the front row for you.
Hey, perfect.
Look forward to meeting you.
Absolutely.
Right.
You as well.
This is DC. Once again, we're going to stay close to home next week. We're going to do another Nashville group, Rubik's Groove. Rubik's Groove is going to be on, so we're excited about kind of staying in the Nashville area for 2 weeks in a row here on the show. So cool stuff. We'll catch up with them. And once again, Ari, thanks a lot. As DC always tells everybody, keep playing those 80s, and we'll see you next week.